In 2019, the Wall Street Journal got their hands on a stack of confidential documents. They were leaked from NEOM, the $500 billion Saudi mega-project. The pages were filled with insane ideas: flying taxis, robot maids, and glow-in-the-dark sand. But one detail stood out above the rest. On page 2300, the consultants proposed a giant artificial moon. The plan was to launch a massive fleet of drones or satellites to light up the night sky of the city. Basically, the world's most expensive nightlight. The media laughed. Critics called it a gimmick. But while everyone was making jokes, they missed the real story. Saudi Arabia isn't just trying to light up the dark. They are trying to delete it. Today, we are investigating the terrifying engineering behind the orbital sun, and why experts are worried this might actually be a space weapon in disguise. To understand if this is even possible, we have to go back to 1993, to a frozen launch pad in Russia. The Soviet Union had collapsed, but their engineers had one last crazy idea. Project Znamya. They launched a 20-meter mirror made of thin aluminium foil, attached to a supply ship. Once it reached orbit, it unfolded like a giant fan. And here is the crazy part. It worked. People across Europe looked up and saw a fast-moving star, flashing brighter than anything else in the sky. For a few seconds, Russia had turned night into twilight. But when they tried to launch a bigger one in 1999, the mirror got tangled in an antenna and ripped apart. The program was dead. So, why is Saudi Arabia dusting off this failed Cold War technology? Because they don't want light. They want power. We all know the problem with solar panels. They are useless at night, and they hate cloudy days. But in high Earth orbit, the sun literally never sets. It is always noon in space. If you could put a solar farm up there, it would generate clean energy 24/7. No batteries required. This concept is called space-based solar power. And NEOM has reportedly been talking to UK companies to make it real. But wait. NASA proposed this exact idea back in the 1970s. So why haven't we built it yet? Simple. Money. Back then, launching a single kilogram of cargo into orbit cost about $10,000. To build a solar station that weighs 10,000 tons, you'd bankrupt the planet. Enter Elon Musk. With the Starship rocket, launch costs are projected to drop to under $200 per kilogram. This changes the math completely. Suddenly, hauling massive mirrors and steel beams to space isn't science fiction anymore. It's just logistics, and Saudi Arabia knows this. They aren't just planning to buy the energy, they are investing heavily in the space infrastructure to launch it. But there is one massive catch. How do you get the electricity from space down to the ground? You can't use a 35,000-kilometer extension cord. The solution is wireless beaming. Using high-frequency microwaves, the satellite converts the sun's energy into a microwave beam and shoots it down to a massive net in the desert called a rectenna. This rectenna catches the waves, turns them back into electricity, and plugs them straight into the city grid. But I know what you're thinking. Wait, aren't microwaves hot? If the beam misses the target, does it accidentally cook the city like a giant bag of popcorn? This is the death ray fear. Critics worry that any country with this tech effectively has an orbital laser cannon. However, scientists claim the beam is too diffuse to hurt anyone. They say it's more like standing in the midday sun than getting zapped by a laser. But what about wildlife? If a flock of birds flies through this invisible beam, do they drop out of the sky like fried chicken? Surprisingly, no. The physics gets weird here. The microwave frequency they plan to use, usually around 2.45 gigahertz, is specifically chosen for safety. It has a low power density, meaning it doesn't heat up organic tissue quickly. A bird flying through it would feel a gentle warmth, not a burn. In fact, the biggest danger isn't the heat. It's the size of the receiver on the ground. This rectenna needs to be roughly 5 kilometers wide to catch the beam safely. That is a net large enough to cover the entire downtown of Manhattan. Despite the risks, the race is on. And Saudi Arabia isn't the only one looking up. China plans to launch their first test station by 2028. They want to use it to power disaster zones during earthquakes. Meanwhile, Caltech in the USA has already successfully beamed power from orbit for the first time in 2023. It was a tiny amount, but it proved the physics works. But NEOM has the one thing nobody else has: unlimited money, and a massive empty desert to build the receiver. But there is one nightmare scenario that keeps engineers awake at night. And it has nothing to do with lasers. It's space junk. To generate enough power for a city, these satellites need to be enormous. We're talking structures over 1 kilometer wide. That makes them a massive target. Low Earth orbit is already filled with millions of pieces of debris, dead satellites and paint chips moving at 17,000 miles per hour. If just one piece of debris hits this giant glass mirror, it doesn't just break. It shatters into thousands of new bullets. This could trigger the Kessler syndrome, a chain reaction where debris destroys everything in orbit, trapping humanity on Earth for centuries. We might solve the energy crisis, only to destroy our access to space forever. If you zoom out, this project is about way more than just Saudi Arabia. Physicists actually have a name for it: the Kardashev scale. Right now, humanity is a Type 0 civilization. We still dig dead plants out of the ground and burn them for heat. We are primitive. To become a Type 1 civilization, we must harness the total energy of our home planet. And the only way to do that is to stop burning the Earth and start harvesting the stars. This artificial moon is the first brick in what might eventually become a Dyson swarm. A ring of mirrors capturing the sun's full power. It is the ultimate engineering endgame. If they pull this off, the artificial moon won't just be a nightlight. It will be the end of the energy crisis as we know it. Imagine a world where our power comes from the sky, invisible and infinite. No more oil wars, no more smog. Or maybe we are building the ultimate weapon and hanging it right over our heads. What do you think? Is wireless space power the future, or a disaster waiting to happen? Let me know in the comments. And if you think a fake moon is impressive, wait until you see the Japanese city that just banned human drivers to make room for the robots. Subscribe so you don't miss Woven City.